TikTok, this is all fake, not true.
For massive terror attacks, either days before or on the day of the inauguration, 16 days out. And the narrative here is what you saw in the last 20 plus years with no evidence of it ever being true. In all these different shows and movies like Homeland, that they specifically had a character of myself in, and they admitted the character was based on me and I was the bad guy. So I've really been studying this because I've been included in it. And there have been at least 10 different TV series that I know of, you probably think of more, where U.S. soldiers who were conservative and who were patriots, who were Republicans, this is pre-Trump, and it's gotten worse since then, the new shows that are Trump supporters, that work with Islam and it launched terror attacks on America so that the CIA and the corporate media can take the 9/11 attacks and that excuse for the Patriot Act and all the tyranny that we're told is for the Muslims, while the West, the British, Israelis, Turkey, U.S., Saudi Arabia, fund Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which is on record. They just turned over Syria to them in the last month. So they can then move the Homeland Security apparatus onto the American people. And you've seen the Democrats all over the place the last few years say, we need to have Homeland Security mission not be the Muslims now. It needs to be the Trump supporters and MAGA. And they then always point back at McVeigh and say, look, he was an Army soldier and he blew up Oklahoma City. So you have all this pre-programming that there's all these right-wing soldiers that you think are patriots and that are Republicans and are Christians, but they're really Muslims. And they're going to try to overthrow the government, but the government's going to come in and, don't worry, crush those conservatives we really all thought were the best people in America, but really now the U.S. military is Al-Qaeda. The Republicans are Al-Qaeda. Trump supporters are Al-Qaeda. And then you get Leibelsberger, who's a huge Trump supporter and a great guy on record. And I don't just have that from his family doing the interviews. I have been authorized by folks that I know personally for a long time that worked with him. They said an amazing, great guy would never do that. And you go, well, what about the other guy? You know, the supposedly a black guy. And you're in the same unit. And then he does this. Well, that again, that's the, okay, you got the brown guy and he's a Muslim. That's to make it more believable. And then you've got, you know, the white guy, and it's either just blurring the white conservative, they're just blurring those two together. And this operation was being set up and being prepared and being gotten ready. Even they were able to steal the election from Kamala, from Trump for Kamala, they were able to steal the election from Trump for Kamala. They were definitely going to go ahead with the terror attacks and say, oh, it's the Trump supporters. They're really the fifth column. And then subconsciously, everybody's been programming the movies and TV shows and fiction that's been promoting this nonsense thing. It's just like I was able, in the last few years, to say that they are going to start staging terror attacks against illegal aliens and black people, and say, as a group, Trump supporters are white supremacists. And that's not my opinion. In June of 2021, Biden put out the new National Security Directive that I've covered on air probably about 400 times. It's public. And they say the number one threat is white supremacy. And then they define white supremacy as being against open borders, investigating election fraud, being against forced injections, and future pandemic lockdowns. Trump supporters, the deplorables, the garbage that we've been called. So we have that information. And again, when I say I have thousands of points, the frustration point is I could just literally go through them. Okay. How I know this stuff. And once you hear me say this, you're like, oh yeah, most of you probably are as informed as I am. You're like, yeah, we already know this. Well, we're talking to new people here, folks. This is not for the expert people that are immersed in this. We're trying to explain to the general public how we understand this. And because when you start seeing day one when Biden got in, that Trump supporters are secretly white supremacists that are going to blow up all the power plants and the power stations and turn the lights off, and they secretly work with Russia, and Homeland Security needs to make them the new enemy, and they secretly work with the Muslims and are going to attack. That's pre-programming for the civil unrest, civil destabilization, for the civil emergency, aka martial law, that the globalists that are in trouble have been wargaming and testing, rolling out. And so people 6 months ago, even 3 months ago, were like, Alex, they're not going to blow up a bunch of migrants or a black college or something. I just said it's a big place you can hit a bunch of black people. And blame that on Trump. Nobody's going to buy it. And then all of a sudden, you see all the political pundits, literally, before the election, Carville, all of them, saying Trump's coming to kill black people. He's coming to kill black men. If he wins, we need an uprising of black men, like 1776. That's Carville. Top Democrat strategist. And the rest of them saying the exact same crap everywhere. I can play 100 clips of it. We have played them. So out of a clear blue sky, if your neighbor started walking up to you that didn't like you and saying, you know, I hear your house is going to burn down next Tuesday, and then you're asleep Tuesday night and you smell smoke and your house on fire, who's the first person you call the police on? But see, they're operating like you're unconscious. They're all over the place in movies and fiction and nonfiction and fake news, saying Trump supporters are going to kill the migrants and kill the black people. And then as soon as Trump wins, Tom Homan is going to kill the illegal aliens. And I said, watch the mayors, the Democrats, and others, and governors say, we're not going to support the feds. We're going to block them. We're going to have the citizens fight them. And then you heard the mayor of Denver and others, and the governor of Massachusetts and others say, we're going to protest. We're going to resist. We're going to block them. And then in that melee, you have a shooter or a bomber that hits the Democrat protesters or the migrants. Hundreds are dead. Boom. There's your reason for a civil emergency. Before Trump gets in, you can do it. But Homan won't be out there yet. So that's being prepared for their big move when he gets in 16 days. And Homan understands that. He's smart. He didn't need me to tell him, but we did. And so did Flynn, and he's on it, and he gets it. You can watch everything we said and we were advising Homan on is word for word what he's doing. Because the best minds have been on this. Okay? They know. The good guys know. So you're like, okay, what's that to do with the bombings? New Year's Day. Well, we'll explain. But I'm just showing you how some of the pieces, how we walk through this. And about time, 20 hours, go through each other little piece. You're like, well, that's totally clear. Yeah, it is. So they've got all this pre-programming and brainwashing and preparation going. And whether Trump got in or not, they've still got a problem with the Trump supporters, the populist base that's taken over the Republican Party. So they need to discredit that and wage war against it and demolish it and dismantle it and destroy it. And we've heard all these former CIA people and FBI people and political pundits on MSNBC, on CNN, on ABC saying we need to have Homeland Security go after. We need to dismantle them. It's not just Trump. We've got to get his supporters. We've got to outlaw MAGA. Well, how do you do that? You stage racial and religious terror attacks and you frame red-blooded Americans as the pretext to use Homeland Security on them. It's very simple, actually. So, just like Oklahoma City was run by U.S. intelligence, elements of the U.S. Army, through EU, German intelligence funding, and this all came out. Want to look into it? It's a whole other show. They run the same plays over and over again. Hell, it's even some of the same people in the Justice Department now that were the number twos, like Eric Holder, back at the time they did that in 1995. And the Ryder truck at Fort Gruber and just all of it. And the ATF out in Arizona blowing up the Ryder trucks the month before. Yeah, it's all an operation. And then we had the ATF people and the FBI people and the German intelligence all caught on camera and all seen by witnesses in the days before Oklahoma City in the building doing repair work